Peace, family, friends, and lovers out there. I hope everyone's doing great. Today's show is a special one, so I hope you stay to the end to see why today's show is so special and who it's dedicated to. With that said, let's get right into today's show. I am your host, Conscious Self, and we're going to be talking about the moon void that we just had. We had a moon void for over 12 hours, and I decided to talk about this is because this was a particular void that we had a chance to resolve um, feelings that we had that's going to surface in the next 2 days, but we had a chance to reflect on it before they actually peaked and we actually maybe acted or react in a way that will not help us move forward in the direction that we want to move forward. And that's where this full moon is allowing us to do. It's allowing us to deal with those unresolved feelings so we don't have to carry those emotions into the next cycle. And we have 2 weeks before we go into the next cycle, but this full moon is where it peaks. So this is where we want to try to tackle the problem head on, right? So when you have a moon void over a certain period of time, you have more time to see where your old emotional wounds are. And because each sign that the moon goes in, your emotions in that sign is going to be the headline of how you feel in your mood. And so we were leaving a Scorpio moon, which, a Scorpio moon is a very intense sign. So it was letting go of emotions and secrets and attachments that you had. And as it releasing, or as these feelings are being released and brought to the surface, it is happening on the peak of the full moon. So now all those feelings are really drawn to the surface and it has to be addressed. So if you find yourself reflecting on your relationships or reflecting with yourself on old emotions that you're holding and attachments that you're holding on to and you want to let go, well, this is the time to do so, right? And you're dealing with a Sagittarius full moon, so you're dealing with fire, so you can definitely get the ashes. You can put these things to ashes, right? And so that's something to keep in mind. Now, with this particular full moon, it's also going to be a blue moon. This is the second blue moon that we had in May. So if you don't know the definition or what the blue moon represents, to take some time out and look at why the blue moon has a special effect on your emotions, right? This is something where you allow yourself to see the facts versus the meaning, right? I say the facts because there's certain truths that were true in the past, right? But then you're dealing with the meaning. And the meaning of those facts and truths might not be valid in the present moment today, right? So we're going to be looking at the facts and the meanings and how we can attach from some facts and move on to redefining things with a new meaning, right? The information, right, that we're receiving is so fast and there's so much that we need to put something up against the information that we're receiving. And that's why we're going to be using wisdom as the energy that's going to be what we balance the information that we get, right? The information we get might bring a certain insight, but you'll also receive some wisdom from it. I'm going to go ahead and grab this plant because I don't want it to fall before we repot it. And we'll talk about how this plant got here. So, yes, so back to the information that we're receiving needs to be balanced out with the wisdom that we will also be receiving and gaining at this time. Then we're leaving this is a Gemini cycle, right? And the season before, I mean, the sign before was Taurus, and Taurus had us focusing on long term commitments. Well, now that we're in Gemini season, now we're looking at the short term details that's going to help us to get to our long term visions, right? Because if we're going to commit to something and start to take it, and start to move towards that, we have to take these short term details and make sure they're intact, everything's in place so that we can begin to move forward. But by doing so, we must have a vision. And so that's another reason why this Gemini season is helping us move forward, because now we're putting together a vision that we're going to use these small details to get us going with, right? So understand that if you've been in a restless or in a kind of sleepless state, it might because you need to realign with your imagination, because your imagination is going to be something that you're going to be using to shift consciousness. And sometimes we are able to use our imaginations in the physical realm, and they call it daydreaming. And sometimes a lot of us don't take the time to daydream in the physical realm. So when we take naps or when we're resting, we do more of that with our imagination in that state. And so if you found yourself restless and needing more rest, it's because it's being called for you to get ready to use and activate your imagination so that you can use these realities and align them parallel so that you can adjust and maneuver through these times that we're in, right? And so this full moon that's coming up in Sagittarius is definitely something that we're going to be able to use and gain momentum in our vision to get towards our goals. So be very aware of what you're holding on to and what you're attached to, and resolve those unsolved, I mean, resolve the feelings that you have now so that they don't have to move on into the next cycle. You don't want to carry over energy that will lead to what I want to say challenges or obstacles in the first week of June. And I say in the first week of June because in the first week of June, you're going to be dealing with energy of deceptions and lies. And if you bring the energy of your old emotions into deceptions and lies, you might fall for those deceptions and lies. Or if you don't fall for them, then you're going to react to those and respond to those, which is going to be another obstacle or challenge that you got to get yourself out of. So we're trying to avoid these situations and being aware and grounding energy so that we can skip the potholes that's on the road, so to say. Okay, so that's the moon and the full moon and version of today's show that I was going to talk about. I'm going to also shift over to a certain stone that we could use in this particular time to help us with the energy that we're going to be faced with in the next 2 days, right? So let's get into that right now. So we have the labradorite right here. This stone is a very powerful stone. I got this stone in Tucson, Arizona. And yeah, we're going to talk about it right now. So the labradorite, this stone is it's one of the first stones that they introduced to the world for anxiety, right? Because this stone helps you identify with the self-doubts that you have about yourself. And so, like I said, all those old emotions um, that surface this week, and that's going to peak this full moon. That's why this stone is very important to work with or have. It's because it will allow you to deal with that situation and not attack yourself, right? You'll realize that you don't have to judge yourself because you don't feel you meet your potential, or you don't have your self-worth, uh, or you don't value your self-worth, right? And I say your self-worth because we always should be investing in ourselves. But sometimes when we're going against ourselves, it's hard to invest the time and energy that we have for ourselves because we're using it against ourselves or against others. So, yes, this stone right here definitely helps with that. And it reminds us to have power talks with ourselves so we understand that we're not fighting ourselves, right? We're actually building ourselves up, right? This is also a stone that helps us fuel our energy systems, right? Our chakra centers, right? This stone right here helps us get the energy activated and more ready to transfer and channel outwards, right? This blue stone also deals with the throat chakra. Okay, so you have to look at, well, it deals not only with the throat chakra, it deals with all seven chakras. It deals with expanding the awareness. It also deals with the planet Uranus. Uranus is something that we will be dealing with for the next 7 years in Gemini, and this is Gemini season. So you have Uranus, Gemini season. So this stone will help you tune into your intuitions. It's good for protection. And yeah, this is one of my favorite stones to really work with. So yeah, definitely get you a labradorite and work with it this full moon if you can, right? Now that we're getting to the last part of today's show, I want to tell you how this lily plant got to me, right? And I'm going to tell you what we're going to do when we repot this. So, yesterday, during the void that we had, I was not only praying, meditating, doing my cleansing, and repotting. I did some repotting yesterday as well. And as I was doing that, I was talking to the ancestors and relatives and just giving thanks for the opportunity to share life with them, and appreciate who they were and how they had grown into me and onto me in the time that they were here. And as I was doing that and talking to them, the next day, meaning today, I get up and I go look outside for the mail, and I see a package, right? And I opened the package. Um, it actually didn't have my name on it, but it was to my address. So, I've been living here for a while, so I'm like, let's just see what's in the package. And it was this right here. This plant was delivered to me without my name on it, but it was definitely what I was asking for, right? I said what I was asking for because I was asking to communicate with my ancestors, which I felt I was. And in the repotting process, as I was doing it, I was asking that if I had another lily plant, I would love to repot it in the name of Tracy Gary, which is my auntie. And so, with that said, this shows up, and I get to name this plant Tracy Gary, and I have intentions growing this plant, and connecting to this plant. So this actually connects me to one of my ancestors, um, in the physical form with this plant, and also in the spiritual form. So that's why it's a great time, and I wanted to share it with you guys. And that's why I did this show with plants and crystals, to just show you that the energy and the higher realms they are connected, and we are able to see them in the physical realm, and they came from the spiritual realm. And that was just a story that I wanted to share with you guys, because I know you guys are experiencing those same moments. And yeah, it's just a great feeling. And so we're gonna add a few crystals to this repot, and it's because since this plant was delivered in such a special way, I wanted to repot it in a special way. So we have about 4 different stones that we're going to put in the pot to amplify the energy and the intentions of why we're growing this plant, right? So we have the blue apatite. I know my lighting is not that great right now because we're outside, and it's the best time to record for me because it's not hot, but the lighting is not the best, right? But we have the blue apatite. And the blue apatite allows you to reach the higher realms, cosmos, all the way to your ancestors, all the way to the chakras. So in dream states, definitely a good one for dreaming. So it matches the energy that we're using and that we're in now. We have a smoky quartz. It's a special one. This is gonna keep the negative energy away from the plant, right? We have a clear quartz, which is just gonna amplify the energy that it attracts and already has, right? A nice clear quartz. And then we have 2 rose quartz that we're gonna be adding to it to have the love of the energy, in the plant as well. So we're gonna throw those in there. I'm gonna go ahead and mix this dirt up that I got right here into the pot. And as I get in doing that, I'll talk to you guys a little later and show you the finished product. So yeah, we're getting this done before it gets too hot, right? As we finish up, we have the repotted lily, right? I'm gonna go ahead and have some sacred water I prepared for it. Okay. Go pour a little bit more water on it once I place it where it's gonna be at. So, throw it right here for now. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about the first week of June, and how when June 3rd comes around, you have to watch out for deceptions and lies, right? Because of the energy that's coming forward from May on into June, we have to understand that the emotions are still high, and so we still might be trusting others or attached to things that's really not showing its true colors and still in the hidden form. So the lies and deceptions, you're gonna have to be very aware of, just to know that they're still lingering around until we get into towards mid-June, where we know that we had the chance to definitely cut ties and move towards the new direction that we chose to go, right? So, that happens around June 3rd. So all the way up, we're just looking at to make sure we don't have expectations about others that they might can't they can't meet, or they can't bring the results that you might need in this particular time. It is not always that they're lying or it's a deception behind it, but sometimes we need to know when others cannot meet what we need to be done, and in that we can't expect them to do that or to do so, right? So by June 12th, that's where we kind of come to a crossroad, and we start seeing which way we're going to lean towards. And I say lean towards because you have to look at your north node and your south node, right? And they're both pulling you at this particular moment to take a direction. So in this particular time, when you feel like the need to make a decision, it's really asking you, are you going to lean more towards your north node, or are you going to lean more towards your south node? And you have to look in your chart to see where that is, right? So on the 14th is the new moon in Gemini. So that's when we'll be planting new seeds and starting the new cycle of this high energy that we've been having through May that led on into June, which Gemini is allowing us to only express it, but now plan on taking action by the end of the month. So as we're in the mid part of June and we're planting the seeds and the ideas, we also have to understand that we're still working with that imagination, right? That imagination and that dream state is going to be amplified more during the time of June 16th, when Venus trines Neptune's. And this is like a fantasy feeling. And so that's why in the dream state, you can really take that momentum and use that to kind of create it in your spiritual realm to bring it over in the physical realm. And it might seem like a fantasy, but it's really not. It's just that the dream state is at a high level, and that's what we're trying to tap into in this transformation, right? But if we don't do that successfully, then we might see things as a nightmare, right? We might see things as very discomforting, and decisions that we made have now came to surface around the mid time of June, so we don't really know what to really believe in or what to really expect. And that's why in the beginning of the month, we're aware of the deception and the lies, and not to expect much of others, because by mid-June, if we are not in the right alignment, then we will start to see the other side of the energy that presents itself in June, right? Excuse me. So around June, that's around June 17th, right after the mid part of June is when we're talking about the dream state being very highly impactful in the momentum that you're going to be using. But around the 19th is when Chiron, it moves into Taurus, and this is where it opened up new doors. So with the momentum that you've been already riding and the plans that you've already been setting, now Chiron is opening up new doors, so those plans can take action, right? And some of the actions that you realign will now work because the doors will now be open, right? And I say open, but it's all about the mixture of energy and the timing of the energy in your decision making, right? And that's why in Gemini season, we're communicating and we're making decisions to move forward with the small details that's going to lead us to our long-term commitments, right? So around the 25th is when Venus and Saturn trine each other. And so this will be giving you the solutions to the problems that you're still dealing with, right? And you had time not only in June to receive the wisdom, right, that you might need to come up with solutions to move forward. And so around the 27th is when, yeah, the ball starts rolling, right? The train is about to enter into the station. It is now time to finish up the projects that you couldn't stop until you finished it, right? You always, you might be working on a project that you continue to work on. Well, now it's the time where if it's in the ending stages, it's time to finish it, because this momentum not only allows you to finish it as the driver, meaning the person driving the project to the finish line, but it might be the part where you are the passenger and you allow the project to be drawn to the finish line by a partner, a new business adventure that you might jump into, because new doors open. So remember, all these things are happening. So just watch out because this is the time to take a risk, but you have to expect unexpected things to appear, right? So it's all about timing. It's all about being aware and seeing when it's time to take that risk, because it's time to take that risk because unexpected things had appeared, showing you that it's a sign to do so. So just being locked in and focused towards the end of the month is going to be very key, so you don't miss the new opportunities that's presenting itself. And then at the very end of the month, Mercury's will retrograde, and this is around the full moon. So the full moon will be in Capricorn, and so this is going to give you a chance to go over all the things that you might want to continue on with or revisit. And I say revisit because it might have been a success, it might have been pleasure, it might have been something that brought joy. Well, you're going to get a chance to revisit this while Mercury retrogrades beginning June the 29th, and that's going to be for 3 weeks. So this energy is going to mix into the new upgrade and healing energy, and it's going to help you get into a new groove. And with that said, I hope all my family, friends, and loved ones have a great day. Enjoy yourself, share your energy, and Rafiki, uncle to all my friends and family and loved ones. Ashe.